Fear is real, but I am going to share a secret weapon that I have used for years to beat every single fear that used to stop me. You're going to use my 5-second rule in combination with what I call an anchor thought, and that is going to reframe what your mind is doing so that your mind goes from feeling agitation and making you afraid to reframing it from agitation to excitement. It works like magic. Now, I have used this technique for years, literally for years. And one of the ways that I want to introduce you to it is I want to take you backstage. I want to take you backstage to a speech that I delivered this year. And what you're going to see is you're going to see me behind the major set. I'm about to walk out. You can kind of hear the crowd roaring. My introductory video is playing. My body is in a state of arousal. I am literally, my heart is racing, my arms are sweating. Like, you're going to see this and you're going to watch me use this same technique I'm going to teach you to reframe my nerves into excitement. Check this out.
Need motivation?
You better watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I quit on my business partner. I was making $300 a month, and I didn't have the motivation to keep going. And the thing that got me through was studying the stories of entrepreneurs who've had massive success. And I hope that in sharing these stories with you, you find a motivation to keep going. And if I'm being honest, I still need the stories for myself today too. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Mel Robbins, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
All right, I'm about to go on stage. There are 7,000 people out there, and it's so exciting because what they don't know is they're about to learn the 5-second rule, and their lives will never be the same again. Now, I gotta tell you, my heart is racing. My armpits are sweating. I have the exact same physiological feeling as when I'm afraid, but I'm not afraid. I'm excited. Excitement and fear is the exact same thing in your body. It's just what your brain calls it. Here's a trick that's proven by science that I use every time I speak. When I start to sweat, when I start to have butterflies, when I start to have my heart race, I say, I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there. I'm excited to talk to these people. I'm excited to share the 5-second rule. And what that does is it sends a message to my brain that tells my brain why my body's all agitated and excited. And that way, I don't feel afraid. Remember, excitement and fear, exact same thing in your body. The only difference is what your brain calls it. Go get them.
Rule number 2, claim your wins.
2 wins is a way to practice gratitude and to train yourself to start to see what's going right in your life, celebrate and claim the wins that you see in your life, and also claim the wins that you want to create in the future. So here's the way that Chris and I have been doing it. Chris and I, every single day, whether we're taking a walk in the morning or we're sitting having coffee in the morning, or we do it with our kids at dinner at night, we've done it with friends. It's starting to spread like wildfire through my company as everybody's taking it on because it's really fun. And here is the simple way you do 2 wins. You ready? 2 wins. The way that we've been doing it is I know I'm going on and on and on. I'm a little ADD right now. We just got out of the house for a 3-day.
The way we've been doing it wrong.
Oh, the way we've been first, let me tell you how we've been doing it. We have been telling ourselves and each other what's one win in the last 90 days and what is a win that you've had in the last 24 hours. And what I love about it, as I explained on this video that we did on Instagram that went crazy viral, and you guys had all kinds of questions about, is you had questions about, do you have to say it out loud? Yes, you do. Because part of it is not just thinking it, it's starting to express it and allowing somebody else in your life to hear it so that they can hold space for your wins and help you celebrate too. But the piece that we've been missing, Chris, is we've been missing the piece that is the third part. So 90 days, last 24 hours, you need to claim the win you want to create in the next 90 days. Pretty cool, huh?
And that also can
Eyes on the road
every day?
Yeah, and that can change every day. And so that was one of the big questions. When you celebrate your wins, you do your 3 wins. That's what we're calling it, 3 wins. We were calling it 2 wins. But this is now called the 3 wins. As you speak what your wins are past 90 days, past 24 hours. You then claim and speak what you want your win to be and are going to work for in the next 90 days. I love this. I love this. Claiming your wins. So Chris and I are going to do this right now so that you can watch how we do it. 3 wins. Yes, we are. So in the last 90 days, a big win for me having a daughter who is starting her senior year in college and who seems so happy that we've not heard from her literally in like 5 days. And that's a huge win because normally I hear from her every day, but when she's happy and busy, we don't hear from her. So that's a big win for me. Last 24 hours, big win. Or not even a big win, a small win. A small win is that I've gotten into the car here with Chris and we are heading
That's a huge win.
We are heading out to celebrate our 26th wedding anniversary, away for 3 nights. I will take responsibility for the fact that guys on the road, please. I'd like to get there.
But you're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's a win. But my husband just complimented me.
Wow.
No, but I am 2 hours late. We thought we would leave by 1:15. It is 3:15. So it's a big win that I'm in the car. And about to have 3 days with Chris. And now I'm going to claim a win in the next 90 days. A win I'm going to claim in the next 90 days. I feel like this anniversary is a big anniversary for us. 26 years. Especially after what has been a really hard 2 years. And in the next 90 days, the win that I'm going to claim is that we're going to look at each other and go, oh my God, we have launched a whole new chapter in our marriage. And it's the best, most exciting, amazing, sexy, fabulous one yet.
Rule number 3, start doing the small things.
And it's this idea that you don't ever start. You stay trapped in your head. And if you feel paralyzed, if you've been spinning the same ideas over and over and over again, then you know what I'm talking about. You see, many of you are thinking way too big. You're attaching way too much pressure on the things that you're interested in. Until you start blogging about fashion, you won't even know if you like it. So thinking that you have a dream about doing it and thinking that you have this grand plan that you're going to do it full time, it is a complete and utter waste of your time to be dreaming that big. And let me tell you why. Because oftentimes, if you're the kind of person like Vicky that's getting trapped up here, the bigness of what you're thinking about is what's stopping you. What I want you to do if you're in Vicky's situation is I want you to stop dreaming and I want you to just start doing small things. I want you to go back to curiosity and less into crushing your big goals. The thing about life and business and success is that you have to be willing to start. And for people that procrastinate, starting is the hardest part. For people that worry, for people that think too big, starting is the hardest part. Folks that study procrastination talk about the fact that the only way to beat procrastination is to create what they call a starting ritual, which is a way to push yourself to get started. Because all the research shows that if we can push you to get started on something, you'll likely keep going.
Rule number 4, eliminate toxicity.
You shouldn't feel alone because so many people have anxiety about toxic relationships related to their families and how they have to confront them during the holidays. So here's the thing I want you to think about when it comes to the holidays. Holidays can be one of two things when you have toxic relationships with your family. It can either be a personal challenge or it can be a chance to have a personal transformation. And the personal transformation that I'm talking about is not changing your mother or your annoying older brother or your racist aunt. I'm talking about whether or not you have a personal transformation, because you can't fully get rid of toxic situations or toxic people, but you can transform how you behave when you're around those kinds of people. So the holidays can be a chance for you to practice boundaries, practice self-control, to be emotionally resilient and strong and not get triggered, and to also have the courage to express the new you, to express your true self. So if you left home a long time ago, you've grown as a person, you've changed, you've evolved, and then every time you go back home, you feel like you've stepped into a time warp and you're suddenly 8 years old again, this is a chance to transform yourself so that when you walk in the door, you are who you are now, not who you used to be when you still lived at home. And so there's a couple things that I want you to think about before you go home, before you have the interaction, so that you are prepared emotionally to make this a transformation for yourself personally. Number one, don't assume the old role that you used to play. So just because you're in your childhood home or you're with people that you know from your childhood, do not make the mistake of falling back into old patterns. Don't suddenly start acting like the youngest one again. If you're the youngest in your family, if you're always been dad's favorite and everybody hates that, stop playing into it. So there are things that we do that we don't even realize when we step into our childhood homes or around the people that we grew up with, where we slip right back into old patterns. Make sure you know what those are so that you have them in check for yourself. Number two, this is a huge one. Don't take the bait. This was advice that I got from my brother a long time ago. Don't take the bait. You know that there are relatives and friends from your past that just love to cast the guilt. They just love to cause issues. They're constantly casting like a fisherman, all kinds of things out there. And if you're the kind of person like I used to be, when somebody gets upset, you grab the bait and then you start trying to make it okay, and the next thing you know, you're arguing with somebody over something really stupid. Just don't take it. Don't let yourself get triggered. If somebody's casting the guilt, let them cast. Don't hit that lure, you know what I'm saying? They're welcome to say whatever they want to say. If you don't react, there's no issue. You don't have to worry about making sure that your mom or your dad doesn't say that stuff. Just don't react to it. And you'll be shocked at how the dynamic changes. You know, this is another piece of advice that my friend Danielle gave me today, and it comes from the Calm app. You can also, before you go into the situation, visualize the really busy road. Now, in a very busy road, there are people that are passengers in those cars, and there are people that are pedestrians on the sidewalk who are watching the cars go by. I want you to think about the dynamic in your family as cars zipping down the highway, right? Everybody's got all kinds of issues and conversations and kids and this and that, and people want attention, and there's all kinds of things racing by. Your role when you're around your family is to be a pedestrian on the sidewalk, watching it all go by. This is another form of not taking the bait. The last thing you want to do when your mom pulls the guilt train up is to climb on board and be a passenger on that ride, okay? You know what I'm saying? You're going to stay on the sidewalk. You're not going to take the bait. You're just going to watch the traffic as it speeds and whips by. Don't climb in when the guilt car pulls up, okay? Next thing, this has also been a major thing for me, empathy. Empathy is a superpower. My relationship with my mom changed dramatically for the better when I stopped judging her and I started thinking about what she must be feeling. Seriously, like if you've got somebody in your life that's angry, that says hurtful things, that's disappointed or upset, all of those things, anger, pain, disappointment, it's all just a mask for hurt. So any kind of toxic behavior that you're seeing in other people, unless it's some sort of narcissism personality disorder, for most normal human beings, if they're exhibiting bad behavior, it's literally just unexpressed hurt. That's all that it is. And a healthy dose of empathy, like thinking about how hard it was in the household where your parents grew up, or thinking about all the struggles that maybe one of your siblings who's really annoying because they take up all the energy, how many struggles they've faced, or thinking about how lonely your aunt is because your uncle's died. Thinking from a point of view that's empathetic, it's amazing. It's very personally transforming because it helps you set boundaries. It helps you not get triggered. It helps you to be more emotionally mature and resilient, and it will help you make these holidays an opportunity for personal transformation instead of a massive personal challenge.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, claim your anxiety.
The 2 forms of anxiety are overfunctioning and underfunctioning. Now, neither one is better or worse. They're just patterns. And the cool thing with patterns is once you can spot them and talk about them, and you understand them and unpack them, you can start to create mindfulness and a little bit of distance between the things that trigger your anxiety and that coping mechanism kicking in. Because for me, when I get into the mode of do, plan, I got it, I drive myself into the ground. I burn out. And that's exactly what happened this weekend. 6 weeks of basically going into hyperdrive mode as a way to cope with all this uncertainty led me to crash because I'm terrible at asking for help. And my husband, I'll have to ask him how he copes with his anxiety because he has a really amazing way of staying calm. So overfunctioning anxiety is do. It's giving advice instead of asking for help. It's assuming responsibility for things that aren't necessarily your responsibility. It's managing everybody else's emotions. And I am the master at this. And the other form of anxiety is underperforming. And as I was thinking about this, one of my 3 kids has this form, and I never would have thought it given their personality. Underperforming is when instead of thinking through your issues, you start asking for tons of advice. You push the responsibility to other people to solve your issues. You withdraw, you become paralyzed. And the reason why it's important to really think about what kind of anxiety you have, and what I want you to do is, in the comments, I want you to write down, are you a overfunctioning, overperforming anxiety person, or are you a underfunctioning, underperforming? And what happens when you are overfunctioning is I rob the people around me of supporting me, of being responsible for themselves, of helping out. I rob myself of the support that I need and deserve. And if you stay in the pattern too long of either under or over functioning, you will drive yourself into the ground. Again, you gotta express these emotions because burying them has never worked in the history of time. And so what I want you to do is, again, write in the comments, what is your pattern when you feel anxious? Do you over-function or under-function? And the solution today is very simple. I just want you to recognize the pattern. And for you over-functioners, when you recognize yourself going into that mode, take a pause, get into your body, ask yourself, what do I need help with? And who can I ask for help? And what am I taking on that I don't need to take on? And how can I get myself into this moment and ground yourself? And if you are an underfunctioner, same thing. Recognize when you're spinning and asking for advice or overthinking or paralyzed instead of problem solving and getting into action.
Rule number 6 is find your life raft.
When your life blows up and you find yourself in the ocean with like pieces of the boat all around, look for a life preserver or a raft. Okay. So I want to applaud you for doing what needed to be done when the you know what hit the fan. That same instinct is what is going to make you successful. The second thing that I want to tell you is once you get a hold of that life raft, you want to grab something else that floats, right? And get yourself out of that water. And so I am glad to hear that you're looking for a job. Yeah. And what I would recommend is I would recommend not pretending about the situation that you're in. There is no shame in going to a job interview and at the end of it saying, and I'm asking you for this job. And the reason why I'm asking you for this job is not only because I am going to be incredible at it and you're never going to regret it, but I actually need it. I'm in a really tight jam. I had a life crisis happen. I never thought at the age of 55 I'd be in this situation, and I need the work and I want the work, which means I'm going to show up here every single day and I am going to work the heck out of this job. I've never wanted a job more than I want a job right now. And you should tell your friends that this is what you're going through and that you need help and that you need a recommendation or you need a place to stay. And you should not do what I did, which was hide what was going on because I was so ashamed. And, I'm also going to tell you, it will take time. 5 years ago, I still had the liens on this house. 5 years ago, guys. And so it will take time for you to climb out of this, but you will climb out of this. When you're in a storm and when the lights go out in your life and things feel really dark and really heavy, there has always been one thing that helps me get through those moments. And it's reminding myself that this moment, like every painful moment of my life, was temporary. It passed. And when you can keep telling yourself this moment it's going to pass and it's leading me somewhere. When you can trust in that, you create your own light in that dark tunnel. And it allows you to look up. And one of the things about learning something new, like how to make money online, is that it acts like a beacon for where you're freaking going.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the powerboat that gets you there right now.
I know.
You know what I mean? Because you need to find another freaking life jacket, which means you need to get a job.
I know.
You need to just keep going on these interviews. And there's no need, if you've gone on all these interviews and people are like, you're amazing. And then you don't get it. And you think it's because you're too old or you're too desperate. They say you're a consultant. Right. There's no shame in writing back and saying, I'm not sure if you filled the position, but I didn't mention that I actually need a job.
Right.
My pride got in the way. And so if you haven't filled that position, or maybe you are looking for more people, I want to make sure I'm not looking to be a consultant. I've never wanted to find a great job more than ever than this moment. There's no shame in that. What's the worst they're going to say? Yeah, we filled the job.
Rule number 7, dream big.
I guarantee you that right now you are not even allowing yourself to fully dream or think about or set goals that are truly aligned with what you deeply want in your heart, that you aren't even able to manifest properly because you're not even honest with yourself about what you actually want. This is a really common thing because you're allowing your self-doubt, you are allowing your fears, your anxiety, your insecurity, you're allowing where you are to dictate and limit where you want to go. And so step 1, super important. You must allow yourself, give yourself permission to start dreaming with the lid off. Now, the scientific reason why this is so important is because you have a filter in your brain called the reticular activity system. I write about the RAS for short, the reticular activity system, extensively in the High Five Habit. The RAS is a filter in your mind, and you can do simple things that change the structure of that filter. In fact, the filter in your mind, the RAS, is always changing. So one thing that you can do in order to teach yourself how to dream with the lid off is to adopt a simple habit. Every single morning, I do a very simple thing. I write down 5 things that I want. That's it. When I start my day, after I get up when the alarm rings, I make my bed, I pull on my exercise clothes, I set an intention, I high-five myself in the mirror, I then go out into the kitchen, I crack open my high-five journal, and then inside the journal there are prompts that walk me through the steps of visualizing. And the first prompt is dream with the lid off. Set your spirit free. Write down 5 things every morning that you want. And this is important because when you get what you want out of your head and you physically put them on a piece of paper, research shows that you're 42% more likely to achieve those goals simply by writing them down. That's pretty cool. Secondly, your mind is paying attention. And when you take deliberate action and you write down what you want, you are signaling to your brain that you deserve to have these things. You are signaling to your brain that you do want those things. You're not just going to think about them. These are things that matter to you. And that helps train your mind to allow you to let the desires flow through you. Because right now, you're not manifesting properly because you're not even allowing yourself to dream with the lid off.
Rule number 8, get rid of limiting beliefs.
What is your limiting belief? What is the thing that you think about yourself? Maybe your parents or your mother or your father taught you to think that way about yourself. Maybe you went through a horrible breakup and that person made you feel unworthy. Maybe you've had a bunch of setbacks in your life and that's what gave you that limiting belief. But what is your limiting belief? Because today, what we're going to do today is we're going to take it a step further. Now that you've identified your limiting belief, we're going to look at what is it costing you to choose to repeat it. Because remember the quote I started with. You have a choice right now. You get to repeat the things you've always done, or you can evolve them and become more deliberate. Let's talk about the cost of that limiting belief. I'm going to go first. So write down your limiting belief. I see a lot of, I'm not good enough. My mental health is holding me back. I can't run a successful business. I'm lazy and I can't do anything. I'm not healthy enough. Money is the issue. I'm scared to fail. What is the limiting belief that you have? I'm certain it has something to do with not being enough. Once you've written that down, you're afraid of failure. You don't deserve success, all that kind of stuff. I don't know how to start. These are excellent. You're doing an excellent job. The first step to moving from that default into getting deliberate is actually seeing it. So seeing it is fantastic because now we can start to understand that, whoa, this got programmed in. It's my default mode. I want to get rid of it. How do we get rid of it? Well, let's first identify why you want to. Let's take a hard look at the cost of having this limiting belief. So in order to figure out the cost of having the limiting belief, what's my limiting belief? That I'm not a good person. That's my limiting belief. That I am not a good person. That you don't think I'm a good person. That I don't think I'm a good person. And here's what you're going to do in order to identify the cost, okay? You're going to ask yourself 3 questions, and they're very simple. What is this limiting belief in my case that I'm not a good person? What does it cost me in my past to think this way? What is it costing me in this present moment to think that I'm not a good person? And here's the kicker. If I don't evolve this, if I don't get deliberate, what is it going to cost me in the future to continue to think that I'm not a good person? So in the past, thinking that I'm not a good person, it did a bunch of things. First of all, it made me very sad. Secondly, it made me a liar because I assumed that I wasn't good enough and I'm not a good person, so I got to pretend to be somebody else. It also made me cheat on people because I didn't think I deserved love. And it also, by believing that I wasn't a good person,
it somehow justified the bad behavior. I mean, if I'm a bad person, then I do bad things, right? What does it cost me in the present to believe that I'm not a good person? Well, it costs me a lot of joy. It costs me connection in friendships because I'm constantly questioning whether or not people actually like me for me. It makes me second guess myself and whether or not I deserve the success. And what does it cost me in the future? It's going to cost me everything. If I continue to repeat this pattern and I continue to allow myself to default to believing that I'm not a good person, I will never be fully happy. I will never be fully present. I probably will not be successful when we launch this new daytime talk show in the fall. And so I got a choice to make, and I want to get rid of this because I can see what allowing myself to believe that I'm not a good person is costing me. This exercise of identifying your limiting belief and then seeing what it's cost you in your past, your present, and your future is so important for you to do.
Rule number 9 is change your patterns.
I know that everybody's problem comes down to one pattern you're repeating that you can't see. And that pattern is getting triggered by something that happened in your past that left you with this emotional scar. And so for me, the thing that I always have to deal with in myself is the fear of disappointing somebody. So if I'm in a situation where I start to feel that, it's an old trigger. And so when you finally have a word that describes in a visceral way this thing you hate about yourself or this thing that triggers you or whatever it may be, that's where the power comes, because now you can name the thing that was once controlling you. And so if you can identify, first of all, the pattern you keep repeating that makes you miserable or doesn't serve you or makes you lose your power or has you go numb, then you can start to go back and say, well, where did I first start doing this? And what was the experience that triggered it? Because that's the root of the problem right there. And when you expose all of that, the trigger and the emotional button, like I'm afraid of disappointing people, I'm afraid of disappointing people, I'm not worthy, I'm pissed off that this is happening to me. Now you have the ability to change it forever.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is manifest your dream life.
Not only do I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself going back to the dorm room. Notice I'm closing my eyes. It's because manifesting is a habit for me. And when I manifest, I get in it, man. I close my eyes, I go into my mind, I am literally in my imagination there. And I not only can see myself doing the work, I can feel it. You can feel what it's like to walk into that dorm. You can feel what it's like to sit down. You can feel the heavy backpack hit the table. You can feel yourself crack open that book. You can feel yourself sitting at that desk and the desk light. And you can also even feel what it's like, can't you? As the sun starts to set and it gets darker outside and the light on your desk starts to get brighter and take things over, you can just put yourself right there. And the feeling is super important because, again, manifesting is mind, body, spirit. We got to get your nervous system involved. We've got to make you feel like you're at the scene. One of the reasons why feeling it is so important is because it magnifies the imagery in your mind. And when your mind rehearses something, here's what's cool about your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you studying for that test or you doing the work to start that business or get healthy or put yourself back out there or heal your trauma or save the money to get that house that you want, or whatever it is that you're visualizing. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you visualizing those things and you actually doing them. In your mind, it's the same. So it's almost like a training run for a marathon. You are building a muscle that helps you win when you take the actions. It's so cool. And so you not only want to feel what it's like to study for that test, put yourself at the scene. You also want to feel a sense of pride that you're doing the work. And the pride piece is really important because the pride piece acts almost like a booster. It amplifies the memory imprint. When you like bring this, wow, there I am, I'm doing the work, I'm proud of myself, I'm staying in, I'm putting in the extra work. Somebody said no and I kept on going. I didn't stop when the first venture capital firm said they wouldn't invest. There I am investing again. When you feel this sense of pride in yourself, it supersizes the imprint and the rehearsing. And so it's a super important part of the feeling. Not only feel the steps, feel the pride that you're doing it. This is so important that I want to give you yet another example. Let's say that your bucket list, something on your bucket list is to run a marathon. For me, it was on my bucket list when I was a young mom to run the New York City Marathon. Now, what's interesting is I applied, I got a number, and when I won this number out of a lottery system with the New York City Marathon, I was a brand new mom. I was totally out of shape. I was not at all in any kind of a place to run the New York City Marathon. Now, here's the thing. I used visualization to help me lower my fear and my excuses. Because when I got the number, I did not have a lot of time. If I had been a person who was not visualizing, I probably would have said, I don't have enough time to train, I'm not ready, I can't do this. All the excuses would have come in. But instead, I used visualization. Now, how do you use visualization for, say, a marathon? You do not want to visualize crossing the finish line. That is how you visualize incorrectly. Luckily, I knew how to visualize at this moment in my life. You need to visualize yourself going from 0 to preparing to run that race. So what does that mean? That means you need to visualize, oh, there I am. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I don't feel like getting up, but I'm getting up and I'm putting on my sneakers and it's dark out and I don't feel like going for a run, but there I am going out the door alone in the cold. Wow, I am going for, I'm pretty proud of myself because I'm training. Oh, here's another thing you could visualize. I'm on a training run, it's mile 7 and it starts to rain and I keep going. Wow, I'm wet and I'm still running. I'm proud of myself because I'm out there training. It's mile 11 and my earbuds just lost battery. I don't have any more music. I got 5 more miles to go. I'm out here for almost another hour. And I continue going. And I continue going. And I see myself completing that 16-mile training run. And I allow myself to not only feel what it feels like to push through that moment when those earbuds run out of battery, but I also feel proud of myself for pushing through. That's how you prepare yourself for the thing that you need to do, because it removes the obstacles that would stop you from pushing through. Number 1, the secret to an optimistic mindset. You got to be maniacal about your intake. Negativity in here means negativity in your body gets stored here and negativity comes out here. It becomes this loop of negativity. And so in order to build a positive mindset, I want you to be maniacal about positive input. That means really watch your news intake. Do not be watching it every day. Get the facts, get what you need to know from a trusted, measured, calm, factual source, and then turn that off, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, edit your social media. Anything on your social media feeds should be helping you be more resilient, more optimistic, more positive. Anything that you're following that triggers you, that is negative, that rubs you the wrong way. You know, one of the things that I've noticed, I have some favorite celebrities that I have followed for a while because I think they're funny or I love just kind of their sense of humor. But there are so many people that I have muted right now because I think that what they're doing online is so freaking out of whack. Seeing people give us advice about quarantining from the back of their estates and mansions, telling us to donate when they're not saying they're donating, seeing this kind of tone deaf celebrity thing going on. I'm normally not a negative person about that, but I have muted so many accounts because it's not doing anything for me. And you got to be selfish right now. You have got to edit your social media feeds so that your social media feeds are helping you build an optimistic and positive mindset. And so every day, the second I see something, I mute, unfollow, because negativity in means negativity gets stored here, means negativity goes out there from you. You want to put positivity, optimism, tools, strategies, things that keep you laughing, things that keep you giving you things that you can use right now. The second you start getting overloaded with Corona stuff, mute that stuff, edit your social media based on what you need. That's number one, maniacal about your intake. The reason why those positive, I love myself, I'm happy with who I am, I accept myself. The reason why those mantras don't work in the beginning is because your brain rejects it. You've spent a lifetime trashing your body, trashing yourself, telling yourself you're stupid, telling yourself that you're not good enough, telling yourself that nothing's ever going to work out for you. There is no way that you're going to be able to stand in front of a mirror, everybody, look yourself in the eye and say, today's the day that I'm going to forget all that stuff and I'm just going to accept myself. And the reason why it's not going to work is because all day long, you then continue to beat yourself up. And so what does work? Well, I'm going to read from chapter 7 of my New York Times bestselling book, The High Five Habit. The place where we left off, for those of you, is page 91, where we were talking about training your mind to change the way that it views the world. Intentionally training your mind to help you. And this is an important thing to learn how to do, because if your mind is going to accept new ways of thinking and new beliefs about you, you must also train your mind to start to see the world differently. And so you can do the exercises that I'm teaching you in conjunction with what I'm about to teach you about mantras. So mistake number one, when it comes to you trying to become a more positive person and when you are trying to change the way that you talk to yourself, is you pick a mantra that you do not at your core believe, okay? You pick something that is the antithesis of how you actually believe it yourself. And so the mistake number one that you're making when it comes to mantras is that you're picking a mantra that is so far away from where you are that your mind immediately rejects it. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is that you pick a mantra that is simply just you repeating a statement that is the exact opposite of how you speak to yourself and how you treat yourself all day long. And so, let me just talk about this on a common sense standpoint. Let's say that you really want to become healthier, okay? How many of you want to become healthier, right? And you know all the things you need to do. How many of you want to become healthier and you know the specific actions you need to take in order to become healthier, right? Of course you know what to do. You know that you could eat better food. You know that you could get more sleep. You know that you could move your body a little bit more. You know that you could drink more water. You know that you could lay off the booze and the fatty, starchy foods. All those little actions would add up to a much healthier you. Are you with me? Yes, of course you're with me. Okay, so knowing what to do is the easy part. Knowing kind of what you want, that's the easy part. The problem with sticking to those changes is that your own negative self-talk trashes you all day long. And the negative self-talk, I'm so fat, oh, there I go again, I said I wouldn't have dessert, but I did. Oh, I said I wouldn't drink tonight, and I just did. Oh, I said I was going to go gluten-free, and I didn't. Oh, I'm sad, so I'm going to do this. Oh, I don't feel like going for a walk. All of that negative thinking and talking, it makes you feel less motivated and less worthy of the change that you want. And so if you wake up every day and you have a
dream and a goal of becoming healthier. And you know that today you're going to move your body, and today you're going to drink more water, and today you're going to cut out the gluten, and today you're going to do whatever. You're gonna donate the clothes that don't fit, so you stop trashing yourself. All things that make you feel better, right? If you stand in front of the mirror and you say, I love you and I accept you exactly how you are. I love you and you deserve to be, and I love myself, and I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to be the best me I can be. And then the next thing you do is you go into the kitchen and you glug, 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 pour a ton of cream into your coffee. Your mind is immediately going to go, why did you just do that? Oh my God, here I go. I'm 1 minute into this. And your own negative self-talk just overrode what you said in the mirror. That mantra that I love myself and I accept myself. By the time you got into the kitchen, you have already trashed yourself. The pouring the cream in the coffee is an example that you don't love yourself. You're not sticking to your word. And now your motivation goes, boo, to change, right? This is why most mantras are complete bullshit. You're picking something you don't believe. So what will work? Because the truth is, research says that having a positive attitude, having an optimistic attitude, being kind to yourself is the secret to motivation and inspiration. When you treat yourself with respect, when you cheer yourself forward, when you forgive yourself when you screw up, you are going to feel more worthy, and you're going to feel more encouraged, and you're going to feel more likely to pick yourself back up, dump the coffee with the cream out, make the coffee with the plant-based thing that you said you would drink, shrug your shoulders, laugh that you just instinctively poured the cream in, and then there you go. Take a sip of your coffee. So we know that positive talk helps. We know that kindness helps when it comes to motivation. The problem is you're picking a mantra that is so pie in the sky, and it's making you feel far away from what you want. And so what will work? I'll tell you what works, and then I'm going to read to you from the High Five Habit. Mantras only work, number one, if you believe them. I'm going to say that again. Mantras only work if you believe them. So if you're somebody that has struggled with self-acceptance for a very long time, it will not work for you to stand in front of the mirror when you feel broken and you're at the beginning of your journey of taking control of your life. It will not work for you to stand in front of the mirror and to say, I love and accept myself. Because as you stand in front of the mirror and say that, your brain is going to be like, no, you don't. Did you see how you treated yourself yesterday? You do not love and accept yourself. I know I'm a ventriloquist now. I'm your brain. And then that truth, that your actions don't align with what you're saying, plummets your motivation and your desire to change. So what you have to do is pick a mantra that you actually believe.
We all know that we need to love ourselves, right? How do you do that?
I don't know. What is the action that you take?
Yeah. We all know we're supposed to accept ourselves. We all know we're supposed to have self-esteem and self-worth and self-validation and self-confidence. How do you build it? And, the other thing is that we also are looking outside ourselves for confirmation, validation, affirmation of those things. And so how do you relocate the source of your self-confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, self-validation within yourself so that you're in control of it? Big idea, right? So let me tell you the story about how I discovered this, because it was not like how do I have another high five moment, I get fired from my talk show, and I am essentially fired from my dream job. I then start having speech after speech after speech after speech cancel. Then Houghton Mifflin cancels my contract for my next book and asks for me to return money that I've long spent.
And
why'd they cancel it? Just
because
because of pandemic
they
related?
laid off. There are two reasons. First of all, they were laying off 45% of the staff, but more importantly, let me take responsibility. I was a year late on delivering a manuscript. Okay, let's be honest. I f***ed up yet again.
Yeah.
I ghosted my publisher and they fired my ass, as they should.
A long play to ghost your publisher, right?
I'm going to spend your money and then ghost you. But I found myself again in this like familiar place, having sort of echoes back to a decade ago of, oh my God, are we in financial freefall again? Like, is this ride over? Kids come home.
You did like 100 speeches in a year prior to that.
Yep.
Or prior to the show.
Yep.
And then took a pay cut to do the show.
Yep. And look, I've been saving money. I've been very smart about money now that I've made it. We've paid back all of our debt, something we're both really, really proud of. And at the same time, when the shit hits a fan in your life, your old things will get triggered. And what got triggered for me is I'm about to lose it all again.
Right.
Meanwhile, just like everybody else on the planet, your kids come home and it's both a blessing and a horror show to have your children in a state of distress as the world is in distress. And I just started to feel overwhelmed. And there was this one morning where I walked into the bathroom. And I was standing in my underwear, brushing my teeth in front of the mirror. And I looked up at the mirror and my first thought was, ugh. I noticed that my jowls were starting to look like saddlebags on a pack horse at the Grand Canyon. And I had like these crazy lines by my eyes, and my neck was really like kind of saggy, and one boob was hanging lower than the other, and my gray hair was coming in, and as soon as I started kind of critiquing my thoughts or my looks and appearance, then my mind, Rich, started going, I didn't get that email back to that person, and I got that presentation I need to do, and my God, did that speech just cancel again? What the am I going to do? And then I look down and the dog needs to be walked, and then I think, I got a Zoom call in 9 minutes, like I got to get my shit together. And before I knew it, my whole mood was low. I felt overwhelmed. I had taken myself down mentally. I just wanted somebody to walk in and be like, Mel, it's going to be okay. Like, you got this, girl. Like, it's lift your head up. You can handle this. I don't know what came over me, Rich. This is pathetic. But standing there in my underwear in front of my bathroom sink, I raised my hand and high-fived my reflection. And I cracked a smile because it's so corny. I even thought of that guy, Stuart Smiley from the SNL skit. So remember that? I'm nice, I'm kind, people like me. Went on with my day. That was it.
Snapped a photo, though.
No, not that one.
Oh, not that one. Not the first time.
And then I kept doing it. I did it probably for a week or two. And here's the weird thing about it. I started when I woke up after doing this high-five your own reflection in the mirror thing. I actually started to feel like I was looking forward to it. And here's why. You know, I've spent a lifetime, just like you, standing in front of the mirror. And what I realize now is that when I'm standing in front of a mirror, I'm either critiquing or picking myself apart, or I'm ignoring myself. And when you start to high-five your own reflection, it starts to build a partnership within you, with yourself. When you walk into the bathroom and you see your reflection and you've been greeting it, it's like seeing another person. It's the strangest thing. You start to realize how often you ignore or destroy yourself when you see yourself or beat yourself up. And here's what's also crazy. You have a lifetime, and this is where the science gets wacky, and I'm going to hit you with so much science because this stuff is so cool. You have a lifetime positive association with high-fiving other people.
Sure.
As a runner, as a racer, you have gotten so many high fives, Rich. What does a high five say to you when somebody gives you one?
You feel seen, you feel appreciated, you feel energized by it, and it's an exchange of energy. It's not the same, and you talk about this in the book, it's not the same as like self-talk because there's a participation involved in it. There's like a communion aspect to it.
Yeah. And, you know, if you think about it, you're so good at celebrating, seeing, and cheering for other people in your life
You plan birthday parties, you reach out to people when you're worried about them, you help out colleagues, you cheer for your favorite sports teams, you high-five people like Rich as they're running races past you, you buy people's merchandise, you do all kinds of stuff for other people, but nobody's taught you how to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. In fact, the reason why it feels weird to high-five your own reflection is because you've been taught to do the opposite. If you know the moment that you started to think, wow, I got to change myself to fit in. I can't be gay. I can't have kinky hair. I don't like the color of my skin because I feel like there's something wrong with me. Society gave you that message. Your parents did. Maybe a bully said something to you. I see somebody writing the way that I walk. I see somebody talking about the texture of their hair. I see somebody saying, I always felt like there was something wrong with me. Well, let me tell you something, everybody. I never fit in with any particular groups of friends. Let me tell you something. Every one of you is now going, I remember that feeling because I was the only immigrant in my class. I was the only Muslim in my class. I didn't look like the other people. I didn't feel like the other people. My father was so critical, right? When you start to get this message from society or other people or just this perception that you have that something's wrong with you, this is where your obsession with changing yourself to fit in begins. This is where your obsession with people pleasing, this is where this sense that you don't belong anywhere that you go began. And it can become a habit. And so we're going to unpack this because what I want you to understand is that you literally came into this world perfect, whole, and complete. You are wired to love yourself. You're wired for love. That's why you miss it. You're wired for self-acceptance. And the world taught you that there's something about you that needs to be changed in order to be liked or loved. And it's simply not true. When you can come back home to yourself and you can accept and love yourself first, exactly where you are, exactly where you're not, then you'll know the secret to going out in the world and not feeling like you never really belong anywhere or you constantly need to tweak yourself or how you show up in order to be accepted by people. When you accept yourself as you are, when you love yourself as you are, other people liking or loving you is just a bonus, but it doesn't change how you feel about yourself. I find that even when change is exciting, it's still scary. Even when you know that this big move that you want to make, this big goal that you want to achieve is something that you're meant to do, even though you know it, it feels overwhelming. We found an incredible apartment in Boston and are negotiating right now a place. And I had nightmares last night about this apartment. Nightmares. Why? Well, because anything new, any change that you want to make is going to require you to literally end things in your old life. You see, I think that so many of us, there are two lives that we have. There's the life that you're currently living. And then there's the one that you're going to live next. Hello, whoever's flying that jet. I'm going to say that again. We all have two lives. The life you're currently living and the life you're going to launch next. And when you're in the middle of thinking about changes and making big changes in your life, I feel like it's almost like you're walking across a suspension bridge as you're building it. And so I have become so indecisive about everything. Like I noticed last night I was trying to reach out to somebody that was recommended to me as a potential person to hire as an executive producer for this big podcast we're launching this fall in Boston. And I couldn't even get myself focused to write the email. Now, the reason why is because when you're on edge, when you're overwhelmed, when you feel stressed or scared about something, your nervous system kicks into a state of alert, and that impacts your brain's ability to focus. So what do you need when you feel that way? I'll tell you what you need. You need to hit the freaking reset button. You need to get your mindset back in check. You got to focus on the simple things that you can do every day to make yourself feel steady and secure and clear, even as everything is changing around you. You want to focus on what's in your control, okay? That's what you want to do. If you're going through a divorce, you're waiting for lawyers. And this process of anticipation, this process of having to be patient, the first thing that you need to do is ask yourself, and this is, by the way, stuff that I talk about in the High Five Habit book. This is about how to cultivate a high five attitude when things are out of your control, how to cultivate a high five attitude when you are waiting and are feeling this anticipation, how to cultivate a high five attitude when you might be disappointed. I mean, you're not going to have everything be a win in life. And so rule number one, you want to put 150% effort in on something that you care about, okay? So if you are sitting here and you're waiting to hear back on something, or you're waiting to do something, you want to ask yourself, have I put 150% in? One of the reasons why I just fired off literally a 3-page detailed email to this landlord, basically saying these girls need a win. They all have jobs after working internships their senior year. They are respectful. They're not looking at your house like a frat house like so many other people will. They need individual rooms in case they have to work remote. Like I went boom, 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 boom. They're looking for a home. Why did I do that? Because I think it's really important when you are trying to make something happen in your life, really important when you're going for something that you can personally say to yourself, I have done 150%. I have gone all in, okay? And so I feel like, yeah, we went all in. We got our application in. We got the check submitted. We got the love letter submitted. And now what I do when I'm waiting is I literally say, I've put in 150%. I can give myself that high five. I can look the woman in the mirror and I can say, I know I did everything that I could. What will eat you alive, everybody, is if you're waiting and you know that you didn't put 150% in. It will eat you alive to be waiting to hear back on a job or on some test result or on an application to a program or a school, and to know that you didn't put in 150%, that's what's going to cause the disappointment.
One of the things that I have to do is I have to stop holding on to misery. I've got to stop holding on to my own habit of hesitating and overthinking and feeling scared and gripping. And I'm working on it. So I want to know, what are you getting out of this? And I see, I love this. I see so many of you going, oh my God, happiness is so unfamiliar. Happiness is so unfamiliar. Trauma that you haven't released. I relate to this. Holy cow. I'm so glad that you do. I remember a couple months ago, I was doing a bunch of research for a project that we're doing for Audible about happiness, was one of the episodes that we were working on. And it was kind of striking to me that the research around happiness shows that folks that feel happier and are present to more joy in their life have a habit that those of us that sort of grip tightly and feel a little wound up and stressed and have a hard time relaxing don't have. And that habit that happy people have is that they make time to do things that make them feel happy. And when I started digging into that research, it was a little confronting because I thought, holy shit, I don't even allow myself. I'm so gripped to feeling stressed out and intense and bracing for what's next that I haven't even made it a priority to allow myself. And so becoming a happier person, again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in this broadcast. The first step is literally letting go, stop gripping. Let go of what's no longer serving you, because holding on to it hurts a hell of a lot more than letting go of it. And so wherever in your life you are not happy, or you are just bracing or stressed or stuff isn't working, I guarantee you, you're gripping onto something, a relationship, a job, a habit, a routine, a place that you live, a mindset. You're gripping onto something that no longer serves you. And gripping to it is going to cause you so much more pain and misery than letting go. It's really that simple. Every single ending in your life has a brand new beginning contained into it. That's it. Every single ending that you are avoiding in your life, inside that ending, there is a new beginning. I am right in the thick of this, which is why I'm talking about it.
The reason why visualization and picturing yourself succeeding and allowing yourself to feel the happiness and the pride that comes with picturing a positive future. The reason why that's as important is, let's say Shelly does that every single day this week. Every day she wakes up, she walks for 5 minutes, and as she's walking on that treadmill, she's visualizing herself finishing a 10K in 6 months and how proud she is. Every time she does that, she is changing what's going on up here. This isn't something I made up. This is true. And it's not only true based on science, but let's think about this from a common sense perspective. If Shelly wakes up, or if you wake up every single morning, and instead of thinking about the worst case, instead of looking at your body in the mirror and going, I'm so fat, I'm so out of shape, I'll never run a 10K, this is never going to happen, why didn't I exercise last year, I hate my flabby stomach, I hate my big thighs, I hate how out of shape, I'm embarrassed to go, if that's what you're thinking, then that is what you're allowing your brain to continue to filter the world through. If you start teaching yourself the skill of visualizing a positive outcome and feeling the pride that comes with achieving that positive goal, what happens for you right now is you start to think like the kind of person that does a 10K. If after an entire week, what Shelly does is she looks in the mirror and she goes, I'm getting stronger every day. I'm really proud of myself. Even though I'm feeling flabby, I'm not saying you're flabby, Shelly, but even though I'm feeling flabby, I'm doing the work. I can do this. What happens a week from now is when she sees a registration for a 10K, the old mind that wasn't programmed correctly would go, oh, you're fat, you're out of shape, you're not prepared for that, don't sign up. But the new mind, because she's been visualizing every single day, the new mind just 7 to 10 days later is going to go, oh, wait a minute, I'm in shape, I'm proud, I'm doing this. Why don't you sign up? It's going to filter the world in a very different way because you're training it to. This is the heart of doing a mindset reset. And this is why visualization works and why it's an important step and why I'm so glad you're doing it.
Who can relate to this? You feel like you're not worthy of the things that you're accomplishing, or that somehow this is luck, or somebody's like giving you a break, but you didn't earn it. God, every one of you, that blows. Really. So what you're dealing with when you have imposter syndrome is you're dealing with a lack of self-worth. You literally kind of see all the things working out, but you've got this like annoying voice in your head that's saying, you don't deserve this, this is luck. How many of you have that story? This is luck, this is gonna run out, this isn't due to me. Yeah, we got to literally destroy that voice. That is from your past. And part of the reason why you have that voice, by the way, is because of racism. It's because of discrimination. It's because of childhood trauma. It's because of various experiences that you've had, where either your experiences growing up or society at large has made you feel either overtly or in a really like gross and sort of sly way like you don't belong. And so it is critical for you to start to punch that voice literally out of your head. And I'm going to give you some steps to do it, okay? The second thing that's really important is that in addition to stopping down that voice, because it's not your voice, that is somebody else's voice that your brain listened to and then started repeating. And the thing about your brain is that your brain is this really cool computer that learns patterns. And what I want you to understand is that patterns repeat unless you break and replace them. And if you have a pattern of thinking, like what Heidi has, that says you're not worthy, You don't deserve this. Luck is going to run out. At some point, the you know what's going to hit the fan again. Brace. Don't count on anything. Like you didn't earn this. If you got that pattern running in your head, that is a broken pattern. You're not broken. That pattern of thinking is broken. And so the line in the sand that I want to draw starting today is you're not allowed to listen to that garbage anymore. We are going to go on a mission together to notice whenever it comes up, oh, interesting, there it is. There's that pattern. It's spinning, just like a load of laundry, right up there. And I'm going to teach you, once you recognize that pattern, you're going to use this thing that I created called the 5-second rule. You're going to count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because that shuts that down. And counting backwards, let's all do it together. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now notice when you counted, did you feel a little pressure right here? Yeah, that was me hypnotizing you. No, I'm just kidding. What you were feeling is by counting backwards, it's a little brain hack that interrupts all the garbage that's here in the interior part of your brain. This is where imposter syndrome lives, everybody. This is where anxiety is. This is where self-doubt is. This is where self-criticism is. This is where it's all stored. When you notice, oh, there's that voice again, and you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you shut it down, and then you awaken this part of your brain. This is the part of the brain that you used when you were taking the SATs. This is the part of the brain that you used when you applied for that job, when you speak up in that meeting, when you tell somebody, no, you cannot borrow my dress tonight. No. When you have boundaries, right? This is the part of the brain that gives you immediate control over what you think and do next. And so that's a really important thing.
If you Google word wheel or wheel of emotions, you will find that if you ask somebody, name as many emotions as you can. Most people can name 3, happy, sad, angry. There's literally like 113 of them. From disgusted to hopeless to, and if you start with a core, this thing allows you to start with a core emotion and go out. Because back to the flower example, I was expressing anger. That's not what I was feeling. I was feeling invisible and forgotten. And so the word wheel is something that we used several times a week to help people go from the thing that they are expressing to communicating what you're feeling, which is a lot like the work that you wrote about in your book around wearing masks. Getting to the root of the core emotion you're feeling but not expressing.
What are the key principles of how someone deals with themselves when they love themselves, when they care for themselves? What are those key tenets, those key values that we can draw ourselves to and measure against and say, am I doing that for myself?
I think at the heart of it are 2 foundational habits that you need. And one you already mentioned. It's being kind to yourself. It's really that simple. And I know you know the study that they did in the UK where they looked at every possible behavior change that you could do in life. And whether it was changing in diet, meditation, exercise, relationship changes, all of it, the one change that has the biggest impact on fulfillment and happiness is being kind to yourself. And it's the one change we practice the least because I don't think we know how.
How do we be kind to ourselves?
Well, number 1, stop the beat down in the mirror. And despite the fact that it might feel weird or you're going to resist it or you got a lot of dust, oh boy, we got to wipe it away. Ooh, it's more like mud. It's not like dust. Jay has dust. The rest of us are caked with mud. Got to get some elbow grease in there. The high 5 habit every day is wiping that away. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, when you catch yourself in the what if loop or the beat down, use the 5-second rule, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, interrupt it and start just interrupting it. Because you don't have to listen to it. You can't always control when it pops up, but you can start to create distance from it. Meditation obviously helps with that, but in terms of the hand-to-fist combat with your own brain, I prefer punch back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I literally go, I'm not thinking about that. Another strategy that you can use as you're doing the hand-to-hand combat with your own brain is come up with like an avatar for this negative voice, okay? And make it really good. Like when our son was really profoundly struggling with anxiety, he's 16 now, he started to call that worry wart in his head that was beating him up Oliver. And he looked like this big, pimply bully of a kid that was out of the Diary of the Wimpy Kid. And he would literally say when he was 9 years old, "Shut up, Oliver. Like, you're not invited to sleep." Like, he would literally talk to it. And it sounds like you're giving your kid multiple personalities. That's not actually what's happening. You're leveraging objectivity. So you separate yourself from the voice that's talking to you.
Yes.
Another thing that you can do, I love this for worrying. Oh, this is a genius, to steal your word, move. When you catch yourself doing the what ifs, because we know there's two forms of worrying, right? There's the type of worrying that just destroys you. That's destructive worrying, where you just ruminate, what if, what if, what if. Then there's the positive form of worrying, which is productive because it motivates you to change. When you get stuck in the what if, what if, what if, interrupt it with this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go, what if it all works out? What if this turns out to be one of the hardest things I do, but the best decision I've ever made? What if placing a bet on myself was the moment my life changed? What if it all works out? Because you can't argue with that. And it literally stops that sort of cycling, because worrying is just a habit that you have. It's like a pathway that you've plowed in your mind, and it's a protection mechanism. You're actually not a procrastinator. You're not a worrier. You're just afraid.
Yeah.
And by staying in your mind, you think you're safe. And really what you're doing is you're holding yourself back from living the life that you're meant to live.
I love that. That's such a great answer. So that's be kind
I've got
to
a
yourself.
couple of,
That was be kind to yourself. And then there's another one.
And then the other ones.
Yeah.
Keep the little promises that you make to yourself. And there's two simple ways you can practice this that everybody's going to hate. When you set the alarm the night before, I don't believe in having the same wake up time every morning, because I think if you have a normal life, things are constantly changing. And so I think if you were to have one simple habit, which is the night before you go to bed, think about when you need to wake up to truly support yourself, and then intentionally set your alarm. And if you want to get really intentional with the science here, make it like a random odd number. Don't make it 6 o'clock, make it 6:17, because there's a purpose behind that. And then when that alarm rings, don't think about it like an obligation. I want you to think about it like it's a promise that you're going to practice keeping. And this is where you can use the 5-second rule. You're just going to count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to interrupt all of the desire in your mind and body to stay in bed or to hit the snooze button or to argue against what you need to do. And you're going to push through that resistance and take action. And by getting out of bed simply when you said you would, you are, again, behavioral activation therapy. You're acting like a person who keeps their promises.
You talk a lot about taking responsibility for that, recognizing nobody's coming to save you. It's something you said in the book. It's something that you've said in interviews. It's something that I absolutely think is really powerful. How do we use that? Why is that important to recognize?
Well, it's important to recognize because, first of all, nobody is coming. I mean, if you've been sitting around waiting for somebody to discover you, to pick you, to save you, to rescue you, to give you your shot, it's not happening. Like, at some point, you got to wake up and realize when you're 18 and you're out of that house, you have to parent yourself. Your life is your responsibility. And as a woman, one of the things that I found to be extraordinarily transformational is when I stopped, in a very traditional sense, looking to my partner to be responsible for providing for me, providing financially, providing the support, providing. When I realized, wait a minute, it starts with me. I have to be able to figure out how to make myself happy. That's, by the way, the secret to a happy relationship. Marry somebody who's happy and work on your own happiness.
Preach.
And so when you stop outsourcing your happiness, your validation, your support, all of it, and you bring it back in and you get responsible for it, it sounds scary. It's so liberating because you could do anything. When you're responsible, when you're the driver of your life, when you're not looking out to anybody else to fix it for you. Can you ask for help? Of course. But the buck stops with you. You're the one that has to do the work. You're the one who has to push your own ass. You're the one who has to figure out what makes you happy. You're the one who has to figure out and become self-aware about what you need. And then you're the one that has to find whatever it is, the courage or being humble enough to ask for help. Even if it's asking for help from the biggest ally that you have, which is the person staring back at you in the mirror every damn morning.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Marie Forleo, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You've got to take responsibility for the energy that you allow in your life. I want you to fend off negativity as much as humanly possible. You know, we know so much more about the brain than we did just 20 years ago.